Hello, I hope you can hear me. I am going live today from my phone because my computer was acting up. So I'm hopping onto my phone and trying to get everything set up in a different way today. All right, so for those of you who do not know me, I am Malika Daniels. I am a personal finance coach, and my business is called Women Who Money Plan. So I help women develop an understanding of their relationship with money, create plans so that they can achieve their financial goals. And every week I log on and go live talking about a different topic about finances, just hoping to provide some information to those of you who are hoping to change your financial future, basically. So every week, it's usually about 10 to 15 minutes. I don't try to stay on too long, but I also just want you to know this is going to be the last week that I do these lives on Thursdays. And we'll be switching to Mondays, and we will have Money Mondays with Malika. So that will start next week, and I will send out some information about that on my Facebook page so that you'll be aware of the change. All right, so today's topic is going to be money and the stay-at-home mom. Okay, so this live is going to be good for anyone who is a stay-at-home mom, who has been thinking about becoming a stay-at-home mom, who has a partner who's a stay-at-home mom, or even just, I would say, a stay-at-home spouse or stay-at-home parent. The information in this live can be beneficial to male or female, I would say. But as you know, with Women Who Money Plan, I really focused on helping the ladies with their money. But men, you can benefit from this as well. I will say that starting off for those that do not know me, I have been a stay-at-home mom since 2017. I used to be in the education field as a teacher and ed coordinator and things like that, but I became a stay-at-home mom when I moved to Georgia in 2017. So I did not grow up in a situation with a stay-at-home mom. My mom was a single parent. She worked multiple jobs, taking care of 4 kids, and I never saw that really as an option in my life. The whole idea of me becoming a stay-at-home mom really started as a joke between me and my husband. We were kind of like, oh, I want to be a housewife one day. That would be fun. And it's not something I ever really thought was possible. I kind of just thought it was something I saw on TV that wealthy people did. And those people that I saw on TV that were wealthy did not look like me, right? So being a stay-at-home mom was not something I had originally thought was in the plans for me. But after we had our daughter, I really started to think about how I wanted to try to be home with her to spend more time. And then that's when the joking that we had done started to turn into like thinking about, wait a minute, like how could we make this happen? So one of the first things I want to cover today is things that you should talk about with your significant other if you are considering becoming a stay-at-home parent, or the other one's considering becoming a stay-at-home parent, that I think are just really good conversations to have. So as you know, if you've been here before, I'm going to be looking at my notes to make sure I cover everything. Okay, so combos to have. So these are basically things that you want to talk about, have good conversations about. One, you want to make sure you're on the same page with your partner. This is not going to be a smooth transition if one person is gung-ho about it and the other person is absolutely no, I don't want it to happen. It's going to cause a lot of conflict, okay? So do have as many conversations as you can to get on the same page about one person becoming a stay-at-home parent. The other thing that's the next biggest thing after that is the finances. You want to look at your income. What would your income be if this other person was not working? What would that come down to? And then look at your expenses. What are your expenses going to look like if somebody is not working? Can that one income cover those expenses? But also when you're looking at the expenses, what expenses would change due to somebody not working? So for example, an expense that might change is, for us, it was childcare. We were paying for childcare when we were both working. That would no longer be an expense for us if I were to leave my job. So we had to know like, okay, well, we can take that off the plate. Another expense might be your gas might go down because you're not driving to and from work every day. So you can, reduce that a little bit. So you want to think about the different things that you have that are tied more to your work that might not be an expense anymore if you were to leave your job. Another thing could be if you're someone who, when you go to work each day, you typically go out to eat for lunch. That might cut down if you're staying at home. You'd eat lunch at home, okay? So you're going to think about what expenses are going to change. And then you really want to get a solid plan to ensure that the income that the one spouse or partner has is going to cover the expenses that would be left. Another thing to take into account is your insurance. Who is currently covering the medical insurance for your family? If it's a spouse that's planning on leaving their job, you then need to look at how much the working spouse's take-home check would change if they were to start covering the medical expenses, the insurance from their paycheck. So you want to make sure you're looking at that. How much is that going to cost, and is that income that he's going to be taking home still going to be able to cover the expenses? Okay, it's really, really important to make sure that the finances are going to work out. Another thing you want to look at is, are there any opportunities for additional income? So just because someone's leaving their full-time job doesn't mean that there's no way they can make any extra money. So start thinking about, is there a side hustle that maybe we both can start doing, or one person can start doing? So if we do need a buffer of income, there's lots of opportunities out there to make money. So start thinking about that as well. Another thing to think about is taxes. I know that when I left my job, that brought us down to a different tax bracket. And so we were able to get some more money back at tax time. And so that was helpful. But we had kind of thought about that in advance, like, we're not making this much anymore, so we'll be able to get a little bit more back in taxes. So that was helpful as well. And then another thing I think is really important, and I know it really was for us, is how will going down to one income affect your financial goals that you have? So maybe you're also working on paying down debt. Maybe you're also working on building up savings, or you want to have a travel account, or whatever else, retire early, whatever the other financial goals might be. You need to look at the impact that going down to one income would have in those financial goals. And usually it's going to have some type of impact. But again, you might be able to increase income in some other ways to help to offset some of that. But that's still something you want to have conversations about, and make sure you guys are both aware of that situation. A little bit about the reality of being a stay-at-home mom. We planned for this, and it wasn't a spur-of-the-moment thing. But even as much as we planned, the reality was it hit us pretty, I wouldn't say in the beginning, but after a while, having a tighter budget really started to kind of hit, of like, oh, wow, yeah, I'm really starting to miss my income. It got kind of hard for a little while, and I realized I had to get better at being tighter with my budget. It wasn't something I had to do as much when we were both working. And so I had to, start shopping at Aldi more instead of Kroger, or I had to start really thinking about my purchases more instead of just, I'm going to get it, The money really did get a little bit tighter, and it's something that we decided we were going to kind of stick through, but just be aware of that. Sometimes all the best plans don't really prepare you for what it is once you're really in it. Another thing I'll say is the mental health shift for the person that becomes a stay-at-home parent is huge. Leaving your job, leaving your career, having a lot less adult interactions. You start kind of questioning how much you're really contributing to the family. All these different things, kind of run through your head as a stay-at-home parent. And sometimes that can affect the finances as well. Maybe if you're not feeling your best, you might be tempted more to spend because it helps you feel a little bit better. So all the different mental health things that can come into play when you're having such a big life change like that can sometimes affect your finances. Another thing, just not typically finance related necessarily, but I just want to touch on the reality of being a stay-at-home mom, is the expectations that one might have over the other. What the person that's working might be thinking, you're a stay-at-home mom, you're going to be doing this, this, and this all the time. And the person that's being the stay-at-home parent might be thinking, I'm a stay-at-home parent, I'm going to be doing this, that, and that all the time. And if you are not on the same wavelength, that can cause some friction. So that's just another topic that I always like to try to talk to people about when they're thinking about being a stay-at-home mom, is have that conversation about the expectations of each other, because that can get real interesting. We've had some interesting conversations in the beginning when we had to kind of work through that. Okay, so the last part of this live is I really want to touch on how a stay-at-home mom can still be involved in their finances and continue to improve their financial situation even without a full-time income. Okay, so I have seen multiple stories of women, usually who have been stay-at-home moms for long periods of time, 10, 15, 20 years. And some of them have never even had a regular job. And at some point, if their spouse passes away, or their spouse and then they don't work out and then they're getting a divorce, they know nothing about their financial situation and they are at a complete loss, okay? They don't even have access to accounts. And to me, that breaks my heart. And I feel like as a stay-at-home mom, that does not mean that you are not involved in your finances, okay? And these things that I want to talk about now are going to be ways to make sure that you still stay very much involved in what's going on financially in your family. All right. So the first thing I will say is make sure that you have access to bank accounts. It shouldn't be that the stay-at-home mom has to ask permission to use money. You know, if you need something, you shouldn't have to ask, oh, can I get the credit card for this? Or, oh, can I get $20 for this? Like, you should have access just the same way the other spouse has access, okay? And there is something called financial abuse when someone is using their financial or someone is kind of stifling your access to finances. That is financial abuse. And we're not advocating for that, right? We're not standing for that here. So we want to make sure you have access to bank accounts. Your name is on bank accounts. You have your own debit card, credit card, ATM cards so that you can get what you need and provide for your family just as much as you need to. Also, you want to be using these things to help maintain your credit score. If you are not using any kind of credit for years, your credit score could drop. So, sorry, something in my throat. You want to make sure that you are still maintaining your credit and building up your credit over time, okay? Another thing is just having your own account can be really helpful. So you might have, joint accounts and things like that, but having your own account that you can use to do whatever it is you want, maybe for self-care or for your hobby or whatever, I think is really, really helpful and beneficial. And you guys can talk in advance about how much money, on payday gets deposited into each of the different accounts. But I think it's really, really important for you to also have access to your own account. Another thing is, I mentioned the self-care part, but just budgeting for your self-care I think is really important. And most times we are creating our budgets and our spending plans and we're thinking about, all the household utilities and the things that the kids might need and all those kind of things, and we're not really thinking about ourselves. So I think it's really important, especially for any parent, I would say, but for a stay-at-home mom, because stay-at-home mom, your majority of your day, you're just caring for others, right? But to budget into your plan, your self-care, maybe it's $50 a month that you're putting towards your self-care and you're going to go get your nails done or whatever it is that you do. Make sure that you are a priority in that as well. Another thing is you can always think of ways to generate income when you're a stay-at-home mom. It doesn't mean that you just can't have any money to yourself or anything like that. There's ways that you can make money at home. They're not always easy. They're not always lucrative, like where you're making like crazy amount of money or like that. But there's ways to make different amounts of income. So just also think about that as an option if you wanted some additional funds for yourself. Another thing that is really, really key is having regular finance talks with your significant other. These can be once a week, once every other week, once a month, whatever they are. Just have them consistently where you guys sit down and talk about how your money is looking as a partnership, as a family. It shouldn't be that you have no idea what's going on in your accounts, okay? So have those conversations regularly. Pull up list of each of the accounts that you guys have. Make sure you're on the same page of all the banks that you have accounts with, who's holding the mortgages, who you guys' utilities are with, and all those kind of things. It's a really important information for you to have, because should something happen to the spouse that's working, you need to know that information. You need to be able to understand, okay, this is who I call for utilities. This is who I call to pay the mortgage. You should not be completely out of the loop when it comes to your household's finances. Another thing is, if you own any property, you want to make sure that you're on the deed for that property, that your name is on that as well. You might not be a part of paying the mortgage, because if your income wasn't used to qualify you guys for the mortgage, you might not be on the mortgage, but you can certainly be on the deed. So make sure that you are standing up for yourself in those conversations of like, you're a part of this family just as much as the person that's working, and you deserve to be in the loop with everything, okay? Another thing I think is really important that people don't realize is, as a stay-at-home mom, that does not mean you can't contribute to your retirement accounts. The working spouse can contribute to the non-working spouse's retirement accounts through spousal contributions. So that's something that's really important to look into. You can talk to a tax professional if you have questions about that, or a financial advisor if you want specifics about investing for those things. But that is something you can definitely do. Make sure that your spouse is the same way that they're contributing to their 401k each check or whatever it is that they might be doing. You want to make sure that you have something going into your plans as well. It does not mean that you cannot have anything building up for retirement just because you're staying at home. Another thing that's important, just in general, is life insurance. Life insurance for both the working parent and the non-working parent. If the non-working parent were to pass away unexpectedly, then you need to pay for, the working parent would have to figure out childcare and all kinds of things, or take off work for a long period of time and stuff like that. So life insurance is key for both participants if you have children. And then the last thing I want to add is just don't be afraid to reevaluate the situation. When I first became a stay-at-home mom, I had plans of staying home completely until my youngest had started I think pre-K or kindergarten, I think I had said. But after a few years, I started to realize, like, you know what, I'm ready for a change. I think I want to get back into some type of work. And I reevaluated, and I decided that I was going to start working as the financial coach. And I'm doing it part-time still, but I'm very happy that I didn't just think that since I had made this one decision previously that it had to stay that way. It's really important to know that you can make changes. If you decide after 6 months that you're not, you don't want to be a stay-at-home mom, that's okay too, okay? So just remember that you don't have to be stuck in any situation. You can always reevaluate, make changes, and even with the income or the budget plan that you guys set, you want to make sure that you're reevaluating that over time as well to make sure that it's still really working with your situation. I know for us, once we had our son, it got a little bit tighter with the budget because now we're having 2 kids that we're caring for. So just again, reevaluating is key, and being on that same page with your partner is really important. So I hope this helps for anyone who's been considering being a stay-at-home mom, or who is a stay-at-home mom but feels kind of out the loop with their finances and not quite sure how to get involved. I will definitely say, if you want to talk some more, reach out to me. You can join my Facebook group, Women Who Money Plan, and we can talk more about what being a stay-at-home mom looks like and how to continue to maintain your financial health as a stay-at-home mom. It does not mean that you just don't have anything financially going for you. You can definitely still have your own financial goals and everything that you're working towards as a stay-at-home mom. All right, so thank you so much for tuning in. I see you there, Sharon. Thank you for joining. Hey, thank you, Yolanda, for joining. I really appreciate it. If you are watching this on the recording, you can still always comment with any questions or things that you would like to add. And I will see you next week. Don't forget, next week I will be starting my lives going on Mondays. We will do Money Mondays, and I will be sending out information about that. Take care. Have a great rest of your week.